parliamentary days, democracy, as it is described, is government of the people, by the people, for the people. That is when the people gather together to form a government for themselves, for their overall well-being. That is when democracy is put in place. But incidentally, and most unfortunately, here in this country, here in Nigeria, what we have is government of the few, supposedly by the people, for the few, and then for the people. What do I mean? The few, we gather together, select who they want, and govern by themselves and say they are governing the people. By so doing, they pretend to be putting the people into consideration, while in actual fact, they are not thinking about the people. Because any government of the people should consult the people on what they want to do. Then the people will say this or that, and they go back and analyze. But what we always have in Nigeria is a government who pretends to know everything about the people, and we tell the people what the people want, not the people saying what they want. But the government will tell you what you want, and they will go ahead to do it, whether it is what you want or not what you want. What do I mean? In our government, in our country, the government can choose to give you electricity when electricity is not your problem. But they will consider it as your problem, and they will come and give you electricity. When obviously your problem is water. But in their own thinking, electricity is your problem. That is why I say it is for them and them alone, while the people are just the spectators.
All right, thank you so much for that. Let's come to you, Dr. Iman. When we talk about democracy in Nigeria, we look at a whole lot of things, a whole lot of factors, and we also look at how we have, how our growth has been so far. Now, in the papers today, we saw where an ex-VP is saying that Nigeria's democracy is in bondage. But then the EU said that Nigeria's democracy is imperfect, but we have still, we have, have successes so far. Now, I'm asking you a personal question. In our democratic journey, how far have we gone? Are we where we're supposed to be? Are we straight crawling or struggling to be where we're supposed to be democratically?
Well, thank you very much. If we go back to that same elementary definition of democracy, which is government of the people, for the people and by the people, you'll find out that for democracy to thrive, the people must be involved. Democracy the world over is all about people. So that presupposes that in Nigerian democracy, and thank God that the topic you have asked us to discuss is sustaining democracy, a collective responsibility, which presupposes that every one of us needs to get involved to sustain that democracy. It should not be the issue of they and us. The citizens must take active interest, must participate in deciding how their future is going to be. And that is also why June 12 stood out, because the people of Nigeria rose in unison to say, no, we cannot have this. If today the democracy in Nigeria is imperfect, it is because the followers, the citizens, are not living up to or seem to have forgotten that they also have a role to play in holding leaders accountable. For as long as the citizens come up and be alive to their responsibilities, democracy will continue to be on the grow in this country. The issue of their allowing them to go, leaders get away with what they are doing because those they are leading simply choose to remain docile. Otherwise, yes, please go ahead.
In a country like Nigeria, how do we hold our leaders responsible? How do we hold them accountable, rather?
How we hold them accountable?
Yes.
If while the military were holding sway, Nigerians said no and they were able to resist them. That's why you have the law courts too. In this country, we've had governors, especially in this particular state. Prior to that, once they say you've lost an election, people go home and sleep. But a man stood and said no, and was in court and eventually succeeded in overturning it. The problem is that we seem to be impatient. It's not going to be an easy journey. The journey to freedom, the journey to self-actualization, the journey to probably decide taking control of the way things are done. Even today, that you seem to say you have democracy, the citizens must at all times keep the leaders under check by coming up whenever they see them derail. That's why you have the Constitution, a framework the people give to themselves to keep both them and their leaders under check. So leaders and followers must be actively involved in Nigeria. The people of Nigeria should at all times be conscious of their rights within the laws of the land. And once they see being infringed upon, they should stand up. Once we do that, our leaders will get to know that it will no longer be business as usual. June 12th is what it is today because the people said no.
Well, thank you for making that point where you talked about the Nigerian Constitution, and which is what every leader swears to uphold in the due service of office. You understand? But how often do we see Nigerian leaders follow what dictates is in the Constitution? And then, how do you think Nigerians can come up and hold our leaders accountable? Take, for instance, the last administration, where the president gave lopsided appointments, and nobody, not even the judiciary, not even the legislative house, said anything about it, and it was business as usual. And now you're telling us that in democracy that Nigerians have a say. Please, what's your take on that?
Nigerians simply went to sleep. That was why the SY president had his day. We've had times where persons stood on behalf of the people and instituted actions to say no. That this is a country where we say there must be fairness, equity, and justice. And
as enshrined in the Constitution?
Yes, as enshrined. It's now behoves on you and I to go to make those letters of the Constitution count. But when we decide to turn our back, it remains so. If you don't challenge a bad system, it remains bad. Even in the so-called developed or advanced democracies, we still see the people march whenever they think their leaders are not leading them right.
Well, in the area of march, Mr. Paulson, you saw the march, the protest Nigerians, youth especially, did on 20th of October 2020. The outcome of that thing still leaves bitter episode in the minds of people that lost their loved ones. And yet we had a government in a democratic system of government, and nothing, even till the day the last administration left, nothing, not even a word on that incident came out from the president's mouth. Can you say that we have a role to play in sustaining this democracy that we have in Nigeria?
Yeah. That march, you are talking about NSAS.
Yeah.
Fine. You see, what the problem we have in this country is lack of cohesion. Because our ability to brand anything, oh, it is the Southerners, it is the Northerners, it is the Easterners, and the Westerners. Ethnicity is our bane. It's a major problem that cannot make us to come together. So long as the president is a Northerner, the Northerners will see it, oh, it's our brother. The Southerners want to bring our brother down. And that was the coloration that NSAS was given that made some parts of the North not to participate. And at the end of the day, it was seen as a Southern affair. It was seen as the Southerners want to pull down the president. Even with all the complacency, with all the inefficiency, with all the ineptitude of that government. But they never saw anything wrong in it. And that is how it will be. When a Westerner, as it is now, begins to fumble, the Westerners will shield him because it is their brother. So that's the problem we have. There has been no time Nigerians come out in unison to condemn a particular actions of government. And that is why the government keep on having its day in perpetuating inefficiency, ineptitude, whatever form you can talk about it, like the last administration that was a woeful failure. The Northerners never saw anything in Muhammadu Buhari's administration. Even Buhari himself was eulogizing himself that he was the best president Nigeria has ever had. But you don't expect him to say, I am a failure. It's only Babangida who has ever admitted that his government is not working. Because sometime when he was experimenting, at a time he was accosted by newsmen and asked, what is keeping this government? He said he doesn't know, that he thought this country or this government should have collapsed because nothing seems to be working any longer. But no other head of state or president has ever admitted that he's not doing well. Muhammadu Buhari, the former president, was so full of himself, so arrogant, that he told Nigerians that he has done very, very well and that he's leaving Nigeria better than he met it. Myself, I was asking that when you came into this government, that a bag of rice was 8,000 naira. And you are living when a bag of rice was 45,000 naira. Our dollar rate was so low that you can change at 180 something. And now we are changing at 700 and. So what better did you leave us with? But unfortunately, when he was leaving, because he knew the avalanche of criticisms that will follow, he told them that if you disturb me, I'll go to Niger Republic. That he's going to Daura to rest, but nobody should disturb him. Otherwise, he should go to Niger Republic and settle. Well, fine. It's a man, the run of a man who knew that he has not done well. So he's taking a shield to a safe haven. That is it.
Okay, thank you so much for that submission. Let's come back to you, Dr. Iman. You talked about our citizens not holding their leaders accountable. But then, these leaders we are talking about are the people that swore to protect us. They swore to abide by the constitution of this country. Nigerian democracy has been marred by so many things. We have corruption, we have political bigotry, we have so many of them, insecurity. And these are the leaders that pledged in their manifestos, they pledged that when they go into power, that they are going to see that all these things come to an end. And then we voted for them. Look at what happened in the last election. People came out, we voted for them. But again, because I mentioned political bigotry, again, there are a group of people that stayed in some place and decided to do whatever they did. And yet we are where we are today. So I know that we should hold them responsible. But then why are these leaders, the leaders we have produced in our nation, Nigeria, why are they adamant on maybe coming out to tell us something else and then going or having something else at the back of their mind?
Well, thank you very much. I think that if we stop celebrating impunity, if we stop celebrating corruption, corruption will simply go. If that townsman or townswoman of yours that goes to represent all of us in Abuja, whose salary we know, comes back home to exhibit wealth beyond his salaries, and nobody goes there to celebrate him, it becomes an issue. If you go to some African countries, Kenya for instance, parliamentarians, most of them, move from parliament to jail. And that's because the citizens rise up to cry, to say, look, we know this man. We knew what you're worth before you entered parliament. We knew your salary. Last weekend you came home, you held a party for which we believe your salary couldn't have accounted for. And they take it up. It happens here today because we celebrate it. You simply say, oh, our man has arrived. If we stop it and begin to hold them accountable, stop allowing people to enjoy the benefits of corruption, then this will go away. We humor our corrupt leaders. That is why they are there. If all of us, within a short period, when the same Buhari came as a military ruler, and they had the diamond with him, and we had that war against indiscipline campaign, it became part of our culture. That people just get to a point, the bus stop, even without anybody, you simply see yourself queue up. Some of us who were undergraduates, then you get to the public tap in front of the hostel, you just join the queue behind the last man. What we need to do is for Nigerians, the citizens, to develop that culture of saying no to impunity. And you see our leaders become ashamed of themselves. Because they become so ashamed of themselves that in some places like they do in Japan, most of them end up committing suicide if they see themselves not doing the right thing. So, let's
what I'm trying to make you understand that you just made reference of Buhari and Idi Agbon. That was the top, giving us a template for the middle and the lower to follow. But now as we speak in Nigeria, based on what we just saw transpired at the last election, what voice do you think Nigerians, ordinary Nigerians, have to now point at the accusing fingers at our leaders? Bearing in mind that you went, you cast your votes, and then the outcome of it is not what you're seeing. And then you now have a president that is sitting, and nothing has been said about the electoral system. I remember vividly when Yar'Adua, God bless his soul, assumed power. He said that the process that brought him in was flawed and that he would do something to get it fixed. That is when we talk about sustaining democracy by our leaders. This is not a job for Nigerians to do, ordinary Nigerians, bearing in mind the level of illiteracy we have in this part of the world.
Do you think nothing is happening in the country today? Do you know sometimes simply by keeping quiet, you make a loud statement? Do you think the government we have in place at the national level do not seem to feel the pulse of the people?
This same 10th assembly that are jostling for who becomes Senate president and the rest of
All of them, they simply know everybody. The fact that Nigerians are not yet in the street is also sending shivers down their spine. If for once, I want to say that probably we messed with the wrong generation, because if you look at those who came out, majority of those who came out to vote for the first time, and we think we can just kidnap their future and walk away freely, I think it's simply a piece of the graveyard that we are enjoying presently. Nigerians are waiting for the tribunals to finish and make their pronouncements, and then that's when you see whether there will be another Arab Spring, or whether the people will simply say to your tents. But let me say this. Before you come, the point I want to make is that if you steal something, you know you stole it.
Yeah.
And you may not be able to celebrate. Nigeria, our democracy is growing. With what happened the last time, with people coming out to exercise their franchise and definitely take it to the bank, the right thing will surely be done at the end of the day.
Okay. Talking about tribunal, I saw you smiling, I don't know what's talking about the tribunal.
No, there's something he said that
Okay.
that touched my mind.
Okay, you still talk about that. But then I also want to ask, because he mentioned the tribunal, do you think that this present tribunal, as regards to the last election, that they are going to give us a fair judgment at the end of the day?
Well, I'm not a prophet, but I'm not going to be a preemptive too. But all I want to say is that the judiciary is on trial. That's one thing. Sure. Because it's not the politicians or Nigerians, it's the judiciary. Because a man knew he committed an offense. A man knew he did a wrong thing, and he now say, go to your father to come and correct it. You understand? Everybody is looking at the judiciary as an umpire that is so unbiased. The same man swore before all Nigerians repeatedly that he's going to do the right thing. At the end of the day, he compromised. He did a wrong thing. And he said, whoever that is not happy should go to court. And now, why should you tell the people, somebody that is not happy, to go to court? Is it your duty? Are you not telling them what they should do? Did you tell them to come and contest the election? So why should you tell them to go to court? Why are you guiding them on what to do if you know that you have done the right thing? But because you know that you have messed and you have shit, feces all over your body, and you cannot stand, you say, whoever that is not happy should go to court. Now, you want the court to come and clean the mess you have done. So that's why I said the judiciary is on trial. Nigerians are looking up to the judiciary to know what they will do. It's just like my colleague here said. The Nigerians are patiently waiting for the judiciary to say something. Then they might begin to react in any way they like. Nobody is talking now because we are told, Nigerians were told to go to court because we don't like it. So all Nigerians were asked to go to court. So Nigerians are in the court. It's not only Labour Party or PDP or which other party. But the whole Nigerians are in court. We are just looking, we are moping for the judiciary to come out to say something And then we will know, oh, not the same people. Oh, thank you. It's not, they are not the same people. The Nigerians will say, okay, let us drink water and go home to rest. Or whether they will come out to say, we don't like it. That is it.
All right. Thank you for that. We're going to take a short break. Let's see what the president has to say about this year's Democracy Day. President's address. Let's hear what he has to say. We'll be right back.
The citizens have to exercise their right to elect who they want to rule them. That is one. And another one is to maintain law and order when it comes to democracy. The collection of taxes is for the government. It's a kind of rule of law that everybody has to obey. That's for the development of the country or the state. My advice for the citizens is to always exercise their rights when there's an election, so that they will not blame anybody when it comes to taxation. My advice is that they should pay their tax when it is due, and they should not feel cheated. That we are running to go to overseas because of the development there is because they are using their taxes to develop their nations. So I advise every citizen of this country to pay their tax when due.
Democracy is government of the people, by the people, and for the people. So democracy is all about people. If our democracy must succeed, there must be what we call active citizenship. And that active citizenship does not end in going to campaign. It does not end in going to vote. It also involves citizens trying to monitor the people that have voted into office, whether they are achieving the benefits of democracy. Therefore, beyond voting, campaigning, and being a member of a political party, an active citizen must also monitor what those he has elected into government, what they are doing, beyond payment of tax or whatever, you know. So an active citizen of Nigeria is also part and parcel of success of democracy.
Government have to educate citizens very well. You know, when you come to democracy, you know, citizens have a greater role to play, but the problem we have is corruption. You know, when our leaders fail to do what they do, so citizens have to be bribed for them to vote. So I think I will remove the burden from the citizen and put it to the government. So when the government do what they're supposed to do, and the citizen will have the right to vote without being bribed. So that is just the problem we have in our democracy. Advice is like now, we are having it hot now. Everywhere is hard. So if you know what is good for you, you do it. If the environment, the condition you find yourself is okay for you, fine. Like me, like you see now what is happening now, a liter of fuel, 520 naira. Is it good for you and I? So it's better we do the right thing. If we continue like this, well, I don't know what our generation our next generation, what they will face.
Voting is our right to vote, is our civil duty to vote, to pay our taxes, and to obey the rules and regulations of the land of this nation. Well, my advice is, please, we should always try to vote. It's our civic rights. We should vote and to obey the laws of this land.
All right, you're welcome back to the show. It's still Good Morning Anambra, and we're here discussing about June 12th, which is Democracy Day, how we can sustain Nigeria's democracy. And we are looking at it as a collective task. Though some people we interviewed out there, they disagree. They say it's the job of our leaders, the government in power, to do the tax for us, that corruption is caused by them and all that. I mean, that was at least the last person that I listened to, that was what he said.
Yeah, do you know the problem we have in this country? We have a default constitution. A constitution that builds an ombudsperson on the executive. You understand? The executive enjoys so much powers. And that's the reason why, whenever, after taking that oath of office to defend the Constitution, they go back to subvert the Constitution. They will defend, they will take oath of office, I will bear true allegiance to the Constitution and every other blah, 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 blah. At the end of the day, you see these men, the way they become teen God. Not even God himself. They begin to play God. I mean the executive. Okay. So that is the core problem we have in this country. There's nothing wrong with our democracy. But the operators are the problem we have. Because whenever anybody becomes the executive, he becomes all in all. The president is Mr. President and Mr. Know-It-All. He doesn't listen, especially the last president, who is almost not there. But the people used him. Everything passed through him in the name of the executive. Look at the controversy about Air Nigeria. Look at the shenanigan. Look at the shame about Air Nigeria.
Well,
where do we start?
Let me come in here because there's really nothing wrong with either the president or the executive. The fact is that for us,
I said the operators.
Okay, we have failed to build the institutions of governance. If you build the institutions and it's running smoothly, the individuals will come and go, and they will do little or no damage. You look at the United States, their last president, even at a time when he took the institutions to rein him in and make him still perform. That is where it beholds on us. After all, those who designed our system of governance today created for adequate check on the executive. The judiciary is there, the legislature is there. But where the men and women we send to the various houses of assembly, both at the state and national, allow themselves to be turned into rubber stamp, you don't blame the executive. Most of them are now at the stages of electing their leaders. If on their own they elect leaders they trust and believe in, they are there to stop the executive from doing that.
Let's know who we have here. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Please tell us your name and your location.
My name is Demejuba Oscar.
Okay, where are you calling us
I'm calling from Oka.
All right, thank you for calling. Go ahead with your contribution.
All right, thank you for calling. Go ahead with your contribution. I'm calling from.
All right, please, if you want to call us, the number for you to make the call is displayed in front of your TV set, and please move away from where your TV is located or turn down the volume on your TV set so that I can hear you from this end. Okay. You were saying something before I had to cut you short, but then, I think we have three arms of government. We have the executive, we have the judiciary, and we have the legislature. And I thought that all of them are supposed to be watching, checkmating each other. But then it seems like the executive is now the Ogakbata. I mean, nobody is there to talk to them.
That is not so. That became so if the others refuse to realize the powers they've been given by the Constitution.
No, I differ with you on this point.
Before you begin, because if the judiciary, the men and women we have there, highly respected, they realize that it is only between them, once they get appointed, that it is between them, the Constitution or the law, and then God, and not any other person. Nothing will stop them from doing what is right and just. But when they go there and they are thinking of what comes to them personally, when people begin to place self over the collective interest, that is where they become that careful. Let me not rock the boat so this could come to me. But for as long as they do what is right, their conscience, the Constitution or the law, then God, you see the executive will cease to be the thing God they are.
Yeah, you are right. But let us not lose sight that the moment the executive, after assuming office, he will begin to emasculate the powers of the judiciary and the legislature. He will begin to pack all these powers, sit down on them, and begin to dictate for them, this is my interest, this is my interest. And just like you said, because they don't want to rock the boat, So they begin to comply. Now, they become a rubber stamp. The president will almost dictate, or the governor will almost dictate what happens in the House of Assembly. Then in the judiciary makes a judgment. It becomes a problem for it to be respected. And they will keep quiet because they don't control the police. Look at the case of Justice, former Chief Justice of the Federation, or whatever. Look at how the Supreme Court judges were hounded like common criminals. In the dead hours of the night, you send police or DSS to their houses. Where has it happened? Are we talking about synergy? So why can't you follow due process? If you found him corrupt, you follow due process to get him, other than going in the dead hours of the night to arrest him. That is impunity. That is where we keep on saying that the executive will always see itself as a teen god, that will overlord it above others. And that is where we say the operators are the problems. Look at what happened during the Constitutional Amendment.
Yeah.
The independence of the judiciary was approved. Independence of the legislature was approved. But what do we talk about local government autonomy? The governors sponsored themselves and blocked it in the various houses of assembly. And at the end of the day, they whittled it down. It is because they temper with local government funds. And that was why they blocked it. And today, that proposal never see the light of the day. And so on, and so many others. Because the executive believes I am the one who should call the ace. And because I am the one who should do it, nobody else. You are nobody. There's no independence of all these arms of government, except one, who now supervises all of them and dictates for all of them. That is not democracy. And that is against the principle of democracy.
Yeah, you're saying that's not democracy and that's not the principle of democracy. But we are talking about sustaining Nigeria's democracy. And then we can see some form of sustenance. From 1999 till this very day, we've not had any form of truncated democracy. Isn't that on its own a positive note for Nigerians? Or like what's happening in Sudan and some African countries? Well, at least we can say for Nigeria, a big brother of Africa, we are doing something right in this time. Don't you think we have something to celebrate in that aspect?
Well, in fact, every day we wake up, it calls for celebration. Never undermine the resilience of Nigerians. Yeah. The fact that, yes, since 1999 to now, governance have been changing from one party, one group to the other, does not really make it that is perfect. But I think we are getting somewhere. Yeah. The only thing there is that the people must begin to also hold leaders accountable. Very important. The people must go back to find out that they're actually the ones who hire these leaders. And when you hire people, it behoves on you to keep them under check. Then after a while, they come back, they give you an account of their stewardship, you renew their services, or you decide not to. But where, like what played out in the Bible, the case of Esau and Jacob, you decide for a pot of porridge to let go, then you forever keep quiet. So when we talk about the governors emasculating members of the House of Assembly or others, it is simply because we once had cases in this country where a high court judge was having an event, and the sitting governor sent a cow. And the man says, sorry, I don't know what he's for. So take it back to him. But today, probably some other persons will go and celebrate and thank Mr. Governor. Great gift. It comes today, tomorrow some other request to follow it. So our people must be mindful of it. Once you're occupying a public office, be mindful of the gifts you receive from persons, because you never can tell the request that will follow it tomorrow. And by then, your conscience must have been mortgaged. That is the problem we are seeing here. But if the change we desire must come to be, it has to start from each of us. If I resolve to be different, and you resolve to say, look, Nigeria must work enough is enough. I'm not going to go hungry, but I also don't want riches I cannot account for. Then that will be the beginning. But the situation where everybody thinks that it is our opportunity to make it, even when we don't ask questions, wealth without enterprise, people come up. You don't know what they do, they are living big. Once we change that perception, even erupts, it goes down to our children. They begin to see a new Nigeria where you must work to earn that which you're going to use to eat. They need to trickle up to the top.
Okay. All right. Bearing in mind that what an average Nigeria is craving for is just to have, good money that will put food on his table and live a comfortable life. That's why we have a whole lot of people leaving the country for greener pastures out there. And we've talked about citizens holding leaders accountable. What other things do we need to do to sustain the growth of democracy in Nigeria today?
No, we need to fine-tune our leadership recruitment process.
Okay.
That is the major problem we have. He mentioned it partly. In choosing who our leaders should be, we should not be looking for that man who is sounding so high. You know, we overrate people in this part of the world. Oh, he's this. Oh, he's that. He will give us this. He's an ex-general. He's so experienced. He's that.
With padded CVs.
So all this is our overrating. Oh, he's a professor. He's an engineer. He's a barrister. He's a senior advocate. We're overrating. The day we begin to look for leaders who are there for the people, or who will be there for the people, leaders who will be very, very sensitive to the plight of the people, leaders who will consult the people before taking decisions, who ask the people, what do you want? And not sit there in his opulence and decide what the people want. Then we'll be getting it right. It's a major problem. How do we sustain democracy? We sustain democracy by being all-inclusive, all-involved. It is for us. After all, it is said government of the people, by the people, for the people.
Now, you talked about yours. Sorry, you go on before.
So it is for all of us. We should ask questions. We should hold government accountable. How do we hold government accountable? By asking questions. But unfortunately, like I keep saying, the executive, they are always uncomfortable whenever there is criticism, whether it is good one or bad one. But I used to remember when they say, come up with genuine criticisms. It will help us to determine what we are doing. But in some cases, when you say your mind, you have become an enemy. Without trying to analyze what you are saying, without giving ears to what you are saying, it is wrong. Because that's the only way to hold you accountable. Oh, what you have done, that decision the other day is wrong. And you go back and take a second look at that decision to know why do they say it's wrong? And now say it's okay. You're a human being, you're not infallible. None of us is. So we should all try to put the people first before us. Just like they keep on saying, the wise book will say, like Caesar's wife, live above board. But our leaders have never ever tried to live above board. I'm an experienced person working with leaders, at least from Governor Akonobi in the old Anambra State. I started serving governors up to the last governor. So I've seen governors perform. I've seen governors take good decisions. You understand? I've served governors of Anambra State. So whenever you see them take good decisions, and they know they take good decisions, and we have seen such decisions being taken. There are still civil servants around.
All right.
So that's what we are saying.
Now,
governors should try to put the people above their personal interests, above no one name, no nearby. Let us look for people who will deliver in getting who will serve the government.
Now, Nigeria has been saddled with a lot of constitutional review process and everything of such nature, but nothing seems to have been implemented. Wouldn't that be a line to trying to see if we can actually work on this democracy of ours and probably sustain it better, if we can pick one or two things from these constitutional reviews we've had over time? What's your take about that, Mr. Dr. Eman?
The Constitution, yes, the reviews arise from when implementations, as you move on, you notice things that are not the way they should or the people are not too comfortable with. Their representatives go back after consulting with them to say, look, our constituents would want this done this way, and it becomes a body of law. So I think we've come a long way. The 1999 Constitution has been amended severally. The problem with all of us is that not too many Nigerians know that that is a document for all of us. That is a document we actually should have.
Just like we have our books and...
Yes, even our Bible and our phones. In fact, the Constitution should be on your phone. I have it. And it's been made so friendly now, the way it is, that you can easily scroll through and see them. And if you want any section, you just type in a keyword and it gives you all the relevance. So Nigerians should take out time to have the Constitution and then begin to put it to practice. Once we know what the law says, then our leaders can no longer get away with whatever they do. And when you also know that even for some of them, you as a citizen can even approach the court to protect your right, then it becomes, and you can approach even through the House of Assembly, through your representatives, say, look, we want this further broken down so that we know how it impacts on our lives. So it is a process that Nigerians, it needs to be simplified more in basic languages so that even from the primary school, secondary school, our people should start learning to get to know the laws of the land.
I used to see when I was growing up in some ministries where we have suggestion boxes.
Yeah.
I mean, but now it's no longer in existence because you talked about government, governors, putting people first and all that. So sometimes, these people, they might not really know the problem, the actual problem of the masses. And people we put out there to represent us, sometimes they might just be there for just themselves, for their own personal gain. But the masses, I mean, sometimes these legislators, once they clinch the power, they close the doors to their constituents. Nobody can see them, nobody can go to them, nobody can, tell them anything. So how else can the common man, an average man walking, and he knows that this thing is not right, this should have been done this way, I mean, air his opinion so that people in position will understand and see it from the layman's.
Let me say this, that this is a country where once you print your poster to run for an election, you're already honorable this, and the people start hero worshiping you. It shouldn't be so. We've seen maybe on social media some prime ministers ride their bicycle from one point to the other. A few days ago, a lady from one African country was just simply telling the whole world, look, I was just taking a walk and that's the prime minister beside me and all that. Because they are citizens, they are there. Feedback mechanism is very important.
You have just said it.
But when some of our leaders think that because they simply are now and the winner is and they stop taking people's calls, that's why most of them make mistakes. And we also humor them. In this country, there's no reason why, like we had a governor in this day who told all the traditional rulers, say, wait, let me finish serving you and then you know whether I'm deserving of a chieftaincy title or not. And not the system where we saw the other day, it may be in our constitution, but some of us think it's not right that because you won an election, they will now give you Grand Commander of the Federal Republic. No, we should have waited for you to finish serving us and we know whether you are deserving of that position. But not just once you are coming in. Very soon now you see the members of the House of Assembly who are going to be, I think they are having their house inauguration today. I wonder why today being a public holiday, why that is happening here. But so be that as an aside. Very soon you see some of them in the next 1 month, their communities will be giving them chieftaincy titles. They go for Thanksgiving and the priest will stand by the altar and say all manner of things good about the person. I'd be wondering, is it still the same man or another person is being invented? We should begin to say things the way they are. Tell a man who is not doing well that he's not doing well. And he goes back to change his ways.
Well,
still in addition to what he said, he talked about feedback mechanism. It's very, very important
in every office.
In any process. feedback, because that offers you an opportunity to know from top what is happening in the bottom, and from bottom what is happening in the top. Whenever you sit in an office, you don't have a feedback mechanism. You're not doing anything because you just be floating. You understand?
All right.
So in any society, I want to remember His Excellency Chukwuemeka Ejiofor when he was there. I was a journalist who worked with him then. There are times Okwadike will call us together, the journalists working with him. What are the people saying about us? It's an interaction. Those days, he will call us, the journalists. You people live on the street. I don't live on the street. What are the people saying about us? You enter buses, you enter taxis, you go to the market. What are they saying? And we begin to tell him, Your Excellency, they say this. Your Excellency, they are saying that, and so on.
As a mark of a good leader.
At the end of the day, he will be, as you are talking, he will be noting. That's one person I know that meant well, even though that his time was so short-lived by Abacha, who truncated democracy then. So that shows the importance of feedback. It is very, very important. If you are a CEO of a company and you are not using feedback mechanism, please begin to use that today, because it will offer you an opportunity to have an insight into what is happening in your establishment.
Thank you.
So also post-mortem too. After every event, conduct a post-mortem, see what you could have done differently, and move on.
Okay, that's a good one. And on that note, we want to say a very big thank you to both of you for joining us for the show this morning. Thank you, Dr. Emmanuel Udakbe, for being here.
Thank you very much.
And also thank you, Paul Simokeke, for joining us on the show this morning.
Thank you very much.
Okay, here is where we are saying thank you so much for being part of the show this morning. You've heard it from our guest right here in the studio. Nigeria's democracy is work in progress. All of us need to collectively do our own bit so that we see this democracy of ours growing day by day. My name is Chidima Oramwa. See you again tomorrow.
And I'm Ajuluchukwu Okabwe. Thank you for watching.
All right.